Hello and welcome back to another 3 a.m. production video. This is my attempt at a visual podcast where we talk about Disney, animation, comic books, behind the scenes of some of your favorite books and movies, all while I draw some of your favorite characters or characters you've never even heard of. This week we're going to be kicking it off with Hades from Disney's 1997 Hercules. So make sure you sharpen your pencils in a villainous way because we're going to dive right into this. Originally, Hades was envisioned as more of the somber and dramatic villain in a similar vein, personalities of, say, Ursula or Jafar. That mixed with the original design made him look more like Jack Nicholson, because Disney originally wanted Jack Nicholson to play this character. Now, they could never quite come to a contract with Nicholson, so they went back to the casting board and eventually ended up with James Woods. Now, James Woods revolutionized the way that this character was, because it went from this somber tone to when they got him in the recording booth. He has to give this straightforward performance, and he was under the belief that he wasn't going to be right for this character, so he just had fun with it and approached it more casually, delivering the lines as if he was a sleazy car salesman. But Disney loved it, so they decided to rewrite the entire character, inflecting more humor and sarcasm into the role. Woods ended up loving this character so much that when this movie was almost in trouble of going bankrupt and they were going to shut down the project, he offered to give back his entire salary just so the movie would keep going. And that made the Disney execs reconsider whether they should stop this movie from happening. So they found a way to get more money for the movie, and they released it, and has openly and fondly returned to this role many times just because he likes playing it so much, whether it be TV shows or video games or even in the parks. Now, while the Hades in Greek mythology was not as particularly malevolent or even evil as the Disney version was, he has become one of Disney's more popular antagonists and a primary member of Disney's villain lineup. Hades is hot-headed, both figuratively and literally. When he's relaxed or even happy, he's this blue color skin with the blue flaming hair. But you tick him off and you get him angry. His hair and his face become this very passionate shades of red and orange, and you're going to be on the receiving end of some third-degree burns. Now, Hades was gifted his job title and his domain by Zeus, but unbeknownst to Zeus and all the other Greek gods, Hades hates it with a fiery passion, and plots to secretly overthrow all of them. So with the help of his two lackeys, Pain and Panic, as well as secret agents that he has some sort of hold over them, like Meg, he tries recruiting allies in his war with the Greek gods. Everything from river monsters all the way up to the Titans. Now, most of his allies either work with him out of fear, or they have some sort of payment they have to repay, or even a monetary gain. As clever as Hades can be, trusting two half-wits like Pain and Panic to kidnap a small child and kill said baby might be an oversimplification on his part. Now, I'm assuming most of you have at least seen Hercules and know that, Hades plots. Hercules gets kidnapped as a small child by Pain and Panic. He seemingly still has his powers, so he throws them off into oblivion as he then gets adopted by two human parents and grows up different and a little bit astray until he grows up and goes and visits a temple of Zeus, only for Zeus to awaken as a statue to tell him that he is actually the son of a god. So he sets out to become a true hero and goes and gets some hero lessons from Philoctetes, or Phil, everyone's favorite satyr. Coming back to the real world to try to improve himself through labors and tasks, failing to see how to become a true hero, but finding love, losing his powers for that love, only to feel betrayed, give up his will to live to go save the city of Thebes, while Hades imprisons all of the gods up on Mount Olympus with the help of the Titans. Hercules' true love gets hurt, he gets his power back, he saves the day in Thebes, he rushes to stop Hades, he releases all the gods, then he goes down to the underworld to collect Meg's soul, saves Meg, becomes a true god because he's a true hero, ends up in some constellations, feels so proud. Hades gets seemingly stuck in the underworld by being pulled down by a bunch of souls in the river. Pain and Panic make their own little private joke of if is good, if he can get out. But Hades has appeared in other media like Hercules the series. Now, contrary to the film canon, Hades was quite well aware of Hercules' survival, and constantly challenged him throughout the show on trying to take Mount Olympus, because if he could get Hercules out of the way, it would be so much easier for him. Things like exposing the other gods to a specific river that would make them forget who they were, so that way he could just step in without any resistance. One time he diverted the river Styx into Greece. Another time he seemingly killed Zeus when Zeus made himself mortal just to prove a point to Hercules. But despite all of these antics of his, he never actually gets demoted and constantly gets invited back to Olympus for job-related tasks. There was even an episode where he gets to team up with Jafar from Aladdin, giving us a crossover between Aladdin and Hercules, to not only stop Hades, but send Jafar back to the UnderWORLD. There's another episode where Hades even rewrites fate itself with the Tapestry of Fate and makes it to where he was in charge of Olympus and Zeus was in charge of the UnderWORLD. But it was all undone where Hercules destroys the tapestry. He also ends up with tickets to a concert that he was trying to get to that had been already sold out, but that's separate. Hades also appeared on the House of Mouse episodes, frequently as a guest star, either as a spectator to various shows with Mickey Mouse hosting, and or trying to take over the House of Mouse with a bunch of Disney villains, or taking over the House of Mouse with a bunch of other Disney villains. One of those episodes, Hades actually strikes up a crush with Maleficent, and his first attempts to try and woo her fails miserably. So he goes to Mickey Mouse for advice, and Mickey tries to give him advice to be nice to her. But that fails because Maleficent is cruel by nature and hates niceness as a whole. So Hades, now angry, goes and yells at Mickey Mouse and threatens him, and in seeing this and witnessing this, Maleficent actually grows fond of him and appreciates his fiery disposition and decides to go out on a date with him. There's another episode where Pete is trying to get the House of Mouse away from Mickey Mouse, so he destroys the thermostat. So the only guest in attendance is Hades, because he's the only one that actually stands the heat. And as long as the show goes on, Mickey's contract is fulfilled, so he gets to keep the House of Mouse. That episode also featured a small cameo from Chernobog, Disney's interpretation of the devil from Fantasia. Now, Hades eventually left when Pete flooded the house, but his leaving and the water coming in introduced the idea of the Little Mermaid and friends coming back. So the House of Mouse was saved. One time he was in attendance and Mickey decided to show a blooper reel of his that humiliated him so much that he took it out on Pain and Panic. But despite being too clever for his own good and having that temper of his, I'm sure he feels just as lonely and a little misunderstood. But we love him all the same. Or just love to hate him. Now, one thing I would love to ask James Wood if I ever meet him is how he's able to come up with this voice, because I've seen him in other roles where he does do the somber tone and has that more dramatic edge to the voice. So the idea that we got this more used cars salesman vibe, I would just be curious to know where it came from. Was it something about the art that sparked some creativity? Was he just not feeling that as a role at the time? But if you followed along, I'd love to see it. So post in the comments below, or on my various social medias. If you're new to the channel, welcome, welcome. If you're returning to the channel, thank you very much. I always appreciate it. But until we meet again, try not to be as hot-headed as this guy, and we'll see you next time.